Gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to everybody. Namaskar, Kemcho. A very generous introduction. Thank you, Mr. President. So yes, I am a career diplomat. India is my 9th posting in the past 30 years or so. I've spent 4 years almost now in Ahmedabad as the first British Deputy High Commissioner to the state. The UK is proud to be the only country to have a diplomatic office in Gujarat. The others don't know what they're missing. But we're here because Gujarat is important to the UK. It's important to us politically as the birthplace of many great Indians and the current birthplace of the current Prime Minister, of course. Given the strength of the economy here, it's very important to us in trade and investment terms. And in the UK, we have, at the last count, about 800,000 people in the UK of Gujarati origin. So it's very important to us culturally, socially, spiritually, of course, as well. We opened my office here in 2015, having had a trade office here since 1999. We opened a brand new British Council Cultural Centre in 2016. I recommend that you all visit, sign up for library membership and go along there because it's a fantastic resource in a completely bespoke design for the council, a big investment from the British Council into Ahmedabad. We opened a new visa application centre here in 2017 and that's because we want more Gujaratis to come and see us in the UK. And I hope that gives you a feel for the level of importance we attach to our relationship with Gujarat, the level of investment that we're making into the state. For any government body to make any kind of investment nowadays is very rare, given the scarcity of resources. But we have invested here because Gujarat is that important to us. Having opened our office here, British government now has 10 offices across India. We employ about 1,000 people in our network. We have more staff, we have more offices in India than any other country anywhere in the world, including the US, including China. And again, I hope that gives you a feel for the level of importance we attach to the wider, the bigger bilateral relationship with India. I could do a whole talk, presentation, probably even a course on the strength of that relationship as it is at the moment. But I won't do that, you'll be glad to know. But let me give you what I consider to be 5 killer facts about the UK-India relationship as it stands today. Killer fact number 1 is that bilateral trade between the UK and India continues to grow. Last year it increased by another 15% and is now worth about 18 billion pounds, or if I've got my lakhs and crores right, about 1.6 lakh crore rupees. Very, very important part of our relationship. Number 2 is that last year Indian companies invested and safeguarded more jobs in the UK than any other country from around the world. And there are now about 800 Indian companies active in the UK, and they employ almost 110,000 people in the UK. So we're very grateful for that level of investment into the UK. Third killer fact is that the UK has actually invested more in India. We've invested just over $21 billion in India over the last 10 years. More than the USA, more than Japan, Germany and France. And UK companies operating in India, they create 1 in every 20 jobs in the organised private sector and in total employ about 800,000 people in India. Killer fact number 4, last year just over 500,000 UK visas were issued to Indian nationals. That was a jump of nearly 10% from the year before. And Indian nationals received more employment visas than for the UK than all other nationalities combined. So last year we issued 74,000 work visas for Indians to go and work in the UK. The last killer fact for me, and one that perhaps is relevant to this discussion, is that last year the number of UK student visas granted to Indian nationals increased by 27%. 8%. So we've seen a very, there's been a lot of negative press around a number of Indian students going to the UK and those numbers decreasing. They did, but they're now going back up, and we're very, very pleased with that fact. So we've got all these people in India, we've got all these offices in India. What are we actually trying to do here? So three things primarily. We're working together with the national government on mutual defence and security issues, on counter-terrorism, on international issues such as climate change, and we're doing most of that, of course, in our High Commission in Delhi, because that's where central government sits. The two things that we're very active across the country, but particularly also in Gujarat and Rajasthan, is promoting prosperity for both countries. You will have seen, some of those figures I gave you earlier on. There's just a massive prosperity agenda between our two countries. I think India has just overtaken France as the 6th largest economy in the world, and the idea is that next year you'll overtake the UK as the 5th largest economy. It couldn't go to a better country. So we're not happy that we're going down the league table, but if we're going to be overtaken by anybody, it's a good job it's India. The third thing we're doing here, and this is something that Prime Minister Modi refers to as living bridge, and this is the idea that the UK and India have this incredibly long, complicated, historical relationship. Most of that was good, some of it not so good. Most of it was good, but we cannot rely on that historical relationship for the future. We need to be thinking about creating the next generation of relationships between UK and India. And so I spend probably, 40% of my time just going out and talking to young people and telling them about the UK. The impression I get, the young people, unless they're history students, they're probably actually not that concerned about what happened in the past, given that it's so long ago now. They're very, very interested in what's happening in the future. What's the relationship they can have with the UK, which benefits them, obviously, in terms of studies or business or politics. And it's really something that we're very keen to do, is to develop that next generation of relationships, obviously. I think people here, probably in this room, know a little bit about the UK reputation in terms of the education sector. So, we have this global reputation, obviously, for excellence in education and skills. 4 of the top 10 universities in the world are in the UK: Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial College and UCL. And we're home to, I think it's now 32 out of the world's top 200 universities. Second most desired global destination for higher education. 1 in 10 world leaders have studied in the UK at some point. 38% of Nobel laureates who have studied abroad studied in the UK. That's more than any other country. So the UK offers a really, really high quality education that is recognised by employers, particularly worldwide, as a passport to global success. A British education is still one of the best investments anybody can make in their future. Graduates from Oxford and Cambridge are rated the most employable anywhere in the world, while the London School of Economics, Imperial College, University of Manchester all make it into the top 10 of that list. A recent HSBC study revealed that the UK is also the least expensive country amongst those most common countries, including US, Australia and Singapore, and there's a myth there around education is expensive in the UK. The recent depreciation in the value of sterling against the rupee means it's now 20% cheaper to study in the UK, to study and live in the UK than it was before. And we have great satisfaction rating. 92% of postgrad students in the UK rate the quality of teaching very, very positively. What are we doing, in India around the partnership, the knowledge partnership that we're trying to build with India? So I've just mentioned, one of the things that we do obviously is welcome the brightest and best international students to our world-class universities. We host the largest Chevening Scholarships program in any country, anywhere in the world, with a £2.5 million annual budget to fund around 120 fully funded scholarships for future Indian leaders every year. We run the Generation UK India programme to support young people from the UK to gain skills and experience in India, and that programme is going to run for 5 years. We're helping to improve English language standards for teachers in 12 states across India, a programme which has benefited around 800,000 teachers and reached over 17 million learners through that multiplier effect. Over the past 10 years, the UK's Department for International Development, or DFID, has enabled 1.2 million children to go to primary school in India. DFID now works with MHRD on secondary education, the pathway to the workplace and higher education. They're also providing technical support in areas such as learning assessment and school improvement, and school leadership areas known to drive up learning, and where the UK is internationally renowned. It's probably an opportune time to mention Dr. Sheetal Nagori Bharwad and her programme here being run through GTEP UK. Sheetal, correct me if I get this wrong, but I've worked with Sheetal for the past 3 years or so on 2 main programmes being run here. One is a faculty programme, one is a student employability programme. This is in partnership with the government of Gujarat, who are part funding the programme. The idea of International Faculty Development Programme is to try and provide some updated skills for faculty in state universities primarily, in terms of, you know, what's the next teaching pedagogy which is going to be relevant as we go through the 21st century. How can they best prepare their students for the world of work? That programme has so far provided some upskilling to about 5,000 faculty across Gujarat, and that's an ongoing programme. As part of that programme, next week, in fact, we're taking about 35 faculty from Gujarat to the UK to expose them to our systems, to our universities, colleges, but also to our businesses, because we'd like to see a much closer link between academic institutes and business in India, so that they are producing the right calibre, the people with the right skills that employers are looking for. People are given some upskilling here. They then visit the UK. Faculty from the UK then come to India and learn about the systems here. And we hope that that faculty exchange, which will continue now basically indefinitely, will lead to a greater understanding and upskilling of faculty. The student employability programme is something around, Indian students are very intelligent, very clever, and they're very good at passing exams. What about the other skills, the other softer skills that they need to gain employment? And again, through GTEP, we're providing some training around, making yourself stand out from the crowd. What other skills do you need to develop to be attractive in the workplace? Again, that programme involves exchange with the UK and people from the UK students coming here. So this is the first one we've done next week. I'm going back to the UK, and part of that programme is around welcoming that cohort from the Gujarat faculties, and we'll see what they think, what the feedback is, but it's an indefinite programme both for students and faculty, and I'm very grateful to Sheetal for coming up with the initiative and doing everything, and then I can just talk about it and pretend I've done some of the work. So thank you. One of my government's key foreign policy priorities at the moment is education for girls. Educating girls and women is especially effective because the benefits are felt throughout the whole community. We know that girls who complete their core schooling marry later, and have their first child at a later age. They also have fewer children who themselves live longer. They are healthier and very often have greater access to economic opportunity, which by extension makes their family, community and wider society more prosperous. All these factors combined can help lift households, communities and nations out of poverty. And greater education enables women and girls to play a stronger role in public life, which is vital for creating more equal and successful societies. We're working with India and other Commonwealth countries to ensure that at least 12 years of quality education and learning is taken by girls and boys by 2030, and India's played a really major part in driving that initiative through the Commonwealth. Let me say a few words here, if I may, about the work and the activities of the British Council in India. A lot of people, I think, will still know the British Library, but the British Library is more correctly called now the British Council. So if you do go to Vashtrapur and see Mamita Bhattacharya, who's the director of British Council in Gujarat, you will see we have our proper branding there around British Council, and it's much more than a library. You know, the library is an absolutely fantastic resource. Less nowadays in terms of physical space, because that's the way libraries are evolving globally. So it still has a very good selection of physical books. But for me, the big attraction is the online offer, because that really gives you a massive resource to draw on. Not just for pleasure reading, private reading, but also just the access to a wealth of material around professional development, professional subjects. If you can't find it online on the British Council Library, it probably doesn't exist, is what I would say. So we're also very fortunate that we are this year celebrating the 70th anniversary of the British Council in India, the council has been here, for that amount of time, and what I'm told is that every day they've been inspired by India, inspired by their network here, inspired by the people they meet, and they want to build on that, have fantastic relationships and so on. But again, looking like us towards the next generation of relationships, wanting to build on those connections, the impact of their work, share their stories, and inspire hopefully millions of young people for the next 70 years to maintain that relationship with the UK. One of the key things that the Council does in India in terms of promoting the Knowledge Partnership is offering scholarships. This year, because it's the 70th year, the Council has awarded, I think, about 100 STEM scholarships, which cover science, technology, engineering and mathematics at some of the UK's really most prestigious higher education institutions. And the scholarship programs are all around, our part, the UK's desire to become a partner in India's economic growth. And to meet the knowledge challenges of states across India. The 100 women that I've just mentioned who will be going on the STEM scholarships, they'll go to 44 British universities across the UK, and they will study for their masters during the 18-19 academic year. The Council also offers almost 300 great scholarships. This is in cooperation with 45 UK universities in subjects ranging from engineering and law to art and design, again across the UK. They offer 60 Commonwealth scholarships for Masters and PhD study. They administer the Charles Wallace Trust Fund, offering scholarships in arts, heritage, conservation and humanities. And they also run the Hon'ble scholarships for English language teachers. Something also launched this year is something known as the Alumni Awards, and these pay tribute to the impact that the alumni of UK higher education institutions have had in their chosen field, and how this was sparked by their studies in the UK. Broadly, there are 3 award categories: Professional Achievement, Entrepreneurship Award, and Social Impact Award. Again, promoting that knowledge partnership between the UK and India. In higher education, British Council are very closely involved with the Newton Baba programme. This builds research and innovation partnerships with 18 partner countries, including India, again to support economic development and social welfare, and to develop research and innovation capacity for long-term sustainable growth. UK government has invested just over £730 million in that programme up until 2021, with matched resources from those partner countries. The outcomes of that programme hopefully will be 1,300 undergraduate teachers being trained, 200 PhD placements, links, enhanced links between researchers, with 22 workshops reaching out to nearly 600 researchers. And again, with a focus on women, a Women in Science programme, where we would like to train about 200 female scientists in their chosen field. So British Council does so much. I could carry on probably reading for hours. I'll just mention very briefly the UK-India Education Research Initiative. Now, this was something that was started about 12 years ago, with the aim of enhancing educational links between India in the UK. It's been recognised as a key multi-stakeholder programme that has strengthened the educational relations between our two countries, and has been successful in covering all segments of the education sector. First phase of the programme, which ended in 2011, was to enable a step change in that relationship between UK and India on education and research. Second phase, which ended in 2016, focused on thematic areas agreed by both countries, which included things like leadership development, innovation partnerships, skills development, and enhancing mobility. And the UK area phase 3, which was launched in April 2016, is building on those first 2 phases to cement what we've achieved in the first 10 years of that programme. I'll mention very briefly the Science and Beyond lecture series that the Council organises. This is the idea that we're bringing eminent speakers from the UK to cities in India. I think we've done about 40 higher education institutes in the past 3 years across 18 cities in India. Really wide range of subjects: neurobiology, space science, particle physics, history of science, geoscience, astrobiology, and we think we've reached about 15,000 face-to-face audience members till date. I mentioned the library earlier on. I won't go on with that too much more, but 24/7 print and online, opportunity to study English. It's a road to IELTS and taking exams. They have an active programme of books and writers coming along to the council library. Lots of things around language skills, obviously, storytelling, theatre workshops. Mamita's here, she can give you much more detail, I'm sure, on that, but just a fantastic and very long relationship that the British Council's had with India, and doing so much here that people don't associate with the Council. It's not just about books, they're doing an awful lot more. So please go along to the Council in Vashtapur and go and see the new facilities there. I think you've got coffee there now, have you? You could eat very good coffee, says Mamita, so please do go along. So I think that's probably enough from me in terms of some sort of opening remarks. I'd really like to take questions from you. Thank you, AMA, for hosting us this evening. It's always great to link up with such a fantastic institution. We were talking earlier. I think this is my second time here in a month, probably my 10th or 11th visit here over the past couple of years. So it's always great to be back here to see what's going on, to read the events board, find out who's talking and who's doing what. And obviously thank you to you for listening. What I would really want to close by saying, I guess, is that the UK and India are really natural knowledge partners. We've got a shared language, we've got shared values, we both have a love for education and innovation, and I think we will continue to have that relationship. I'm working very hard to make sure that that's the case, because I think if we all work at that, then we can continue to have a really genuine, fruitful and long-lasting cooperation between our two great countries. So thank you so much for your time in listening to me. I'd be very happy to take any questions. I'm sure Sheetal and Momita would as well, if you have any questions about GTEP or British Council. So thank you.
Well, what a wonderful evening. Good evening to all of you. It was a great pleasure, and I think while many of you were concerned about a lot of global issue, educational issue, I always wonder in my mind that we are all product of the same education system, and we have done our achievements on our own. So is there something wrong with the education system or something wrong with the individuals? And that is what they are trying to address now. And in order to build young generation for the future, I think the foundation will be about the faculty and teachers. So that is where the twofold activity that they are promoting will be a very, very important issue. And I don't undermine or don't say that global issues are not important, but somebody will have to start working at a micro level, at a grassroots level, and create something new. And that is where I'm very happy that AMA and British High Commissioner has come, and Sheetal has been working on this project, so we'll be working about it. I would like to tell Mr. Geoff and Sheetal that, as you know, AMA really means business. So rather than thinking about long-term, other term, let us start something doing about it and prove. And I think one of my teacher has told me that if you really want to build an empire, lay this solid foundation. So I can assure you that we really work together to share our experiences and expertise and try to really create something else. Third thing I would like to share here, because of my experience, international exposure also, many times the programs are conducted and then programs get over and people forget. Sometimes in education it is called project approach. The real challenge lies in institutionalizing the program, and that is what we are looking at AMA. That if we can evolve certain models and certain systems of educating future teacher and have a long-term exposure, I think they have a wonderful element of exposure also. It is not only teaching, and the whole pedagogy that they have used, I know that since I've been discussing with Sangeeta and Sheetal, that it's a wonderful way of learning rather than teaching. So I'm sure with this kind of the opportunity given to us, we'll be very happy to grab this opportunity and try to work together. I remember one of the Professor Alan Gibbs from UK when we were having a long time workshop, and he always used to say, what is potential? You never know what is potential. It is a limitless. So I would say this initial thing, and sometimes it is said, the histories we study, but you don't know when you are making history. So I will consider this day as a very important day of making some history and impact in our own education system with the collaboration and experience and expertise of UK. And AMA will be I think, also putting in a lot of efforts and expertise from our side, because of our past 40 years of experience. We have also achieved certain reputation and credibility in the market. So I'm sure that will also help us in doing that. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us and showing your concern. I think we appreciate all your questions, because that is going to give us more insight into how to work together. And I would like to specially thank Mr. Geoff for really agreeing to come here and share his views on this global education and how we prepare. And especially I would like to thank Sheetal and Sangeeta ji, who have initiated this discussion. And I am quite excited about this. I was quite excited about this day. And I think let us carry it further. All the best to you and have a nice evening. Thank you very much. As a token of appreciation, I would like to just offer a small memento book to Mr. Geoff. Okay, so we'll conclude the session here. Thank you very much.